But yeah, so I don't know if many people really do know about the show, but that's pretty much why I was a huge fan of Kaput and Zosky back then. Like, as a kid, they were once my jam.
Yeah, I get what you mean. But you know, I remember enjoying some of the more serious animated shows.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I still love some of the funnier shows, but somehow the more action-packed stuff seemed to have stuck with me a lot more, like Avatar: The Last Airbender, Teen Titans, and Gargoyles, that last one especially. Can you believe that came from Disney?
Yeah, true. Hey, listen, I better get going right now. I need to go and, take care of a few stuff, alright? Alright, take care, man. Bye.
Okay, I'll talk to you later. Why is that guy always in such a hurry?
When I grew up in Canada during the 1990s, we did have plenty of the American shows, but we also remembered watching more of the programming made especially for us, like on Teletoon or YTV. In fact, sometimes we had Canadian versions of some of the popular American animated series. In the case of the more action-packed serious stuff, Americans had Batman and Gargoyles, while we Canadians had Cybersix. Based on the 1991 comic series by Carlos Meglia, Cybersix has often been noted to be one of the most well-known comics from Argentina. So much so that it spun off two different shows. One was a live-action series in 1995 for Argentina, and the other, which is today's subject, is the 1999 animated series. While very short-lived, it was also well-received during its time by both critics and audiences. It first aired in Canada on September 6, 1999, and then the show went around the globe like in Japan, Argentina, and yes, even in America where it aired on Fox Kids in 2000. Of course, there may be a chance that you're watching this and might not be familiar with what Cybersix is all about, or might have just forgotten. Well, here's the story. It's about an artificial human vigilante named Cybersix who is the failed experiment of Dr. von Richter and pursues to stop his evil plans. But in order to blend in with the public, she disguises herself as a male high school teacher named Adrian Seidelman and befriends another teacher named Lucas and a street-smart orphan named Julian, all while accompanied with a panther with the brand of her childhood friend named Data 7. But while she teaches as a man by day, she goes out by night fighting off monsters and robots, all led by Von Richter's younger clone, Jose.
Come on, you must have been dreaming.
Haven't got the imagination.
But of course, like all comic adaptations, there are some noticeable differences between the comics and the series, which in this case, there are a few changes so that the series can be as family-friendly as possible, or at the very least, keep it as PG. Now, we know that in some of these instances, it can happen when the series can end up being weak, or it can actually hurt the series, where it can leave out a lot of inconsistencies, or some important stuff are left out, and it can pretty much be a bit inaccurate to the comics. But in the case of Cybersix, though, she seemed to have managed to avoid these issues.
The biggest difference between the animated series and the original source material is that the show didn't mention some of the darker and more serious elements from the comics, most of which are related to the origins of some of the characters, like where did Cybersix get her signature outfit, how she was created and what was her purpose, and Von Richter's connection with the Nazis. However, keep in mind that I said that the show didn't mention them and not remove them entirely. While they may not have said it directly, it does deliver some hints either visually or through some dialogue about them in order to still stay true to the source material. But, like I said, they are far from enough to do any harm to the quality of the storytelling. In that regard, the series does a great job to be engaging for both the individual episodes and throughout the entire show. This is thanks to the large supply of action showing Cybersix taking down as many enemies as possible, and the rich development of the characters, especially Cybersix herself. In a way, the story revolves around her. It does make it clear that she is not purely human, so the story takes its time to slowly reveal her past, like where she came from and why she was created. But at the same time, she has to deal with having human emotions like what it feels like to have friends or even ponder about love. The only downside is that it doesn't reveal all the secrets, but it is clear that it's not necessarily the writing's fault, it's that the episodes that would potentially tell more never happened. On top of that, the other characters are also well done, like Lucas, who is always willing to help Cybersix out, Julian, whose mischievous personality leads him to both get in trouble and get out of it, and even Data 7 is interesting with how he had a past with Cybersix as a human kid, but now he's a full-on panther.
While this is a lot about the characters, I wouldn't necessarily say this is a character-driven series, but more of an action-driven show, since that is the most prominent element here. And in regards to how that is executed with the animation, I will just say, man, there are some movies out there, some legit animated movies that wish they could have this kind of animation quality.
To give some context here, the animation of the series was done by TMS Entertainment, the famous Japanese studio that not only did the visuals for animes like Akira, Lupin the Third, and Detective Conan, but also supplied some animation for American animated series like Animaniacs, Gummy Bears, and Tiny Toons. However, unlike most of the shows they've done for the West, TMS was not afraid to show some of its anime side to Cybersix, and the result looks amazing! Not only do the designs stay true to the comics and project that comic feel, but also the character animation and the movements are so smooth and expressive. I mean, wow! This is the kind of quality in television animation that you would hear about in Legends! But in all seriousness, with this animation, it allows the action scenes to be the star of the series, to be as intense as possible while also letting out a massive amount of creativity, especially with all the different and unique monsters and robots that Cybersix has to fight off. I'd also like to add how the backgrounds look gorgeous with the city of Meridiana being reminiscent to a European seaside town. Guess there's a good reason why the place kinda sounds like Mediterranean, huh?
The show has so far hit all the right notes in order to be an awesome series. It can get people hooked with the story, with the characters, and if those don't work, then it can certainly do the trick with its animation. Seriously, what can go wrong? Well, to be honest, not much actually. This show is actually really awesome. Okay, but in all seriousness though, if there are a few things that I must go and criticize, then I guess I do have a few complaints regarding a couple of characters. Now, keep in mind that these criticisms are minor. They don't really affect the series much. It's more just a few things that I want to get off my chest.
First off, there's Lucas. He's a great guy, very helpful, and gives the show a good romantic edge. But man, this guy is clueless. He's the one that hangs out with both Adrian and Cybersix the most, and yet he can never make the connection that they're both the same person. I understand that her cross-dressing skills are fantastic, but come on, how have you never put the two together? Especially with how weird they can act on certain topics. Heck, some characters managed to solve it in the one episode they appeared in. You're a biology teacher, that should mean you're smart, right? But okay, fine. The series wants to do the glasses on Superman thing with Cybersix. I can slip that by. But then you have Jose. Oh boy, is this kid something. Look, I understand the need of some comedy for this series for the sake of lightening up the mood, and I will admit, there are times when him and his big goons give out some funny moments. But this guy is beyond over the top. He isn't just your typical cartoony villain. Jose acts like he came straight out of the Looney Tunes, constantly hot-headed and overdramatic with his evil schemes that you'd almost think that he's after a rabbit than Cybersix.
No! Catch her, you worthless mutants! Destroy Cybersix! Destroy her! Now! Now! Once I work the bugs out of this, I'll be back! I'll be back!
Dirty Turkish, Harkabat, Flatten, Porton, Philip, Martin, Perkaluma, Burton, Durton, Boston, Martin, and Apple.
But again, these are not major issues. These are only a few things that, as a critic, I have to point out in order to present the strengths and the flaws. Or in this case, a lot of the strengths and just a little bit of the flaws. But if there is one problem, like the biggest problem of the series that I have to point out, the one thing that will certainly leave many people feeling empty about, is that there's just not enough episodes. And if the biggest problem of the series is that it leaves audiences wanting more, then it must be doing a great job.
Like I said before, this is a very short series with only one season with 13 episodes. With a show that's as well received as this, why didn't it last long? Well, according to the DVD commentary, there were plans to give it another season, but because of conflicts between studios, the series was cancelled after its first season. And honestly, it really is too bad because this is a great series. I'd even go as far and say that this is ahead of its time. While it may have its quirks and doesn't explain everything due to the short amount of episodes, Cybersix is one of the most underrated animated series where the tone and the artistry can be on par with Batman and Samurai Jack. With a compelling and engaging story, a fascinating protagonist with great characters accompanying her, intense action, and astonishing animation, it's a show that makes the most out of its 13 episodes while also delivering an epic finale. Considering how short it is as a series, where the total running time is about 5 hours, this is definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of the more action-oriented animated series or even animes. As for my rating, I gotta give this show a 9 out of 10 with the AniMat's seal of approval. It may only last one season, but that was one amazing season!
And it's too bad that not many people are actually talking about this series. It's unfortunately a bit of the downside of mainly being a Canadian animated series. Unless it's a show that somehow made it big in America like Totally Spies or Total Drama, you won't really find much people actually caring or even know what these Canadian animated series are in the first place. Even though as a kid I loved watching shows like What's With Andy or Kids from the Room 402, there isn't going to be much people in the animation community that would even know what I'm talking about in the first place. And it really is too bad too, because we actually do get some amazing animation stuff here in Canada. I just only wish that there's just someone out there that I can actually share it with. Oh crap!
Hey Matt, you busy?
Hey, what's up? Don't worry though, I'm actually pretty good right now. I'm on my break from working.
Okay, cool, I just gotta tell someone because I'm really freaking excited right now.
Okay, dude, what's going on?
Well, you know the YouTuber AniMat, Electric Dragon 505?
Yeah, I think I've heard of him before. I heard he actually makes some pretty good stuff.
Well, I just heard he might be doing a review on Cybersix, and if that's true, I can't wait!
Oh, okay, that's pretty cool. Wait a minute, you know about Cybersix?
Oh sure, it's one of my favorite underrated animated series. I could talk all day about that show. The main character is this mysterious but kind-hearted crime-fighting artificial human. There's also this panther who used to be her human childhood friend, a muscle-up teacher she bonds with really quickly, and together they fight the minions of this evil scientist and a 10-year-old clone of that evil scientist who's really freaking tyrannical. It's an amazing show.
But she displays great courage, and I admire that.